Good evening, everyone. Would you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Present.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Here.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Here.
Councilman Marcocha?
Here.
Supervisor Colavita?
Here. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'd like to take advantage of the town historian's presence and move to the appointments section of our agenda before our opportunity to address the board on agenda items. So, first order of business, if you don't mind, Dick, 1 second, hang on. We're requesting the probationary appointment of Brian Brown to the position of police officer. Mr. Brown is currently employed as a police officer in the city of Mount Vernon. His appointment is contingent upon receipt of the final approval from the Westchester County Department of Human Resources and the transfer of his pending successful completion of his medical background requirements. As provided for in the Westchester County Civil Service rules, it is necessary for him to serve a probationary period of a minimum of 12 weeks to a maximum of 52 weeks. The appointment will be effective on February 19th, 2024, an annual salary of $67,194, holiday pay of $3,388. Funds have been provided for in the budget. Would someone care to make a motion on the appointment of Brian Brown as an Eastchester police officer?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. And we'll be swearing in Officer Brown when the time comes after he's completed all of his, his criteria. Next is an associate town historian appointment. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Dick Forliano to speak about the credentials of his protege.
This is really an honor today. I've been working with Adrian. Adrian, pronounce your last name. I'm terrible. Jalai, for 5 years. I've worked with many thousands of students, and Adrian is on the same level as graduates from the most prestigious colleges and universities in America. He just graduated from Buffalo, majoring in computer science and history. I can't think of any person better, and he's really a testament to the excellence of the Eastchester schools. Tonight I invited one of his favorite teacher, Rick Burmester, and his mom and dad are here tonight. Just the last thing I'm going to say, and Joe, you always tell me don't talk too long, so I'm not going to. Adrian will be up. We will be collaborating on many presentations, but the one was over at my house Saturday, and we're going to. The first presentation we just began working on is the history of faith, from Anne Hutchison to the Eastchester Covenant to today. Adrian, you want to just say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Rich. I'll keep my words here pretty short and sweet. I would like to show sort of my appreciation for this opportunity. History has always been a deep passion of mine. Thanking my parents for helping me cultivate that passion as well. Thanking Rich in his capacity as town historian, helping me learn more about both local town history and getting more involved with the community. And I'd like to thank the town itself. It's given me a lot, it's given my family a lot. And I am honored to have the opportunity to help this town in any way I can, and certainly help this town through my passion of history and especially promoting our local history here. Thank you.
Very well. Right off the bat, you're in a tough spot. When a person says, hey, come on up on TV and say a few words, it's a lot of pressure. But thank you very much for stepping up and doing this. The town is steeped in history, as you're well aware, and it's great to be able to have someone to pull it all together for everybody. You know, we had a wonderful period a few years ago when the town turned 350 years old, but we're continuing to evolve, and it's really quite a magnificent place. So thank you very much for volunteering. Dick, of course, thank you, tenfold for everything that you've done for the Historical Society, for the town of Eastchester at large, and everything history of Eastchester. So I know, Sheila, do you want to say a couple of words?
I would, if you don't mind. I would like to thank Dick Foliano, first of all, for all your many, many years of service. I know he's not going anywhere, but there is no shortage of work that can be done by Dick Foliano and now his young protege, Aiden. So we are delighted to have you on board. Thank his parents and teachers like Rick Burtmeister, who is here this evening, who at a very young age instilled that seed of loving history in these kids. And so he's a living testament of that. I know Rick helped us 20 years ago, I think. He came and did a history camp, and some of those children, our youngest residents then, now come and attend some of the Historical Society events and write checks and are contributing members because people that are here this evening just instilled that love of history. So, Aiden, I look forward to all the great things you're going to do, and thank you for being here tonight and accepting this wonderful role of the historian. So, thank you.
Sheila, would you like to make the motion?
I would. I move that we
Appoint?
appoint Mr. Aiden Gilai as the protege of Dick Foliano, I think the official title is Associate Town Historian.
Thank you. I think we have a unanimous second on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please call roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Congratulations and good luck to you.
Congratulations.
Okay, now we have the opportunity to address the board on a specific agenda item. Anybody? All right, there being nobody, we'll roll through our agenda. It's pretty short. We have approval of the minutes of the January 16th, 2024 Town Board meeting. Any modifications or amendments? Well, there being none, I'll move to approve same as submitted. Ask for a second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have reports of departments, boards, and commissions. We have a Law Department report. Mr. Rader?
Yes, good evening. First, I have a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute and deliver a license agreement made between the town of Eastchester and Permidium LLC, which will provide customers with an online vital records request service.
Sure, this is just making life easier for people that want to get records done. There's a $5 charge paid by the user plus a small 30 cents or 40 cents for the credit card fee if that's how you choose to pay. Just makes life more convenient for people seeking records. I'll make a motion. This. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. We're going to table the resolution on the generator for Handle Field. What we're doing is making sure that the specs match not only powering the building, but also powering what we eventually will do will be to convert lights from incandescent lights to LED lights in the light towers at Handle Field. So we're going to just make sure we spec that out so we have a sufficient power supply to do both on a regular basis. So that brings us to the Receiver of Taxes report for January, which we can receive and file. Now we have correspondence. You have a memo from the Controller, part-time seasonal employees. Someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Now, second same. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, I have a memorandum from the Controller on the Community Center final payment. This is for the Plumbing and Heating Corporation in the amount of $25,000, which includes various change orders, which are detailed within here. And I'll make the motion. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next is a memorandum from the Controller on a separation incentive. This would be offered in the year 2024 to 12 Town of Eastchester employees who meet the criteria of being between the age of 55 or older and at least 20 years of full-time service to the town. We offered this incentive last time in the year 2020. The incentive would be they'd have to retire by March 31st, 2024, and then their health insurance would be paid for 24 months. That's the incentive. And of course, by doing this, we would hire people at a lesser salary rate, and sometimes people you hire don't need health insurance because their spouse is covered. So let's send it out there and see who wants to participate. I'll make the resolution to offer to those town employees specified a separation incentive of 2 years of paid health insurance. Someone care to make a motion? Excuse me, a second?
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Markocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have a memorandum from the controller on the 2023 year-end budget transfers. We have a list of them. These are just basically the final adjustments in the budget for 2023 pre-audit. Someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
All right. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Markocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have a memorandum from the town clerk regarding the New York State DEC license issuing agreement, agent agreement, and this is basically to permit the town clerk, Joseph Dooley, to authorize and issue conservation or hunting and fishing licenses. And Joe, as new to the world of town clerks, this is, I guess, similar to when you're marrying somebody, you know? It's one of the good things you get to do. Anyway.
A little different,
It's
but
a little
yeah.
A little different, yeah, well, there may be a little hunting involved, notwithstanding that. But anyway, it's a fun thing to do. So I'll make the motion on this, ask for a second, please.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Markocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next is a memorandum from the Superintendent of Recreation regarding request to go out to bid for Leawood Park renovations and improvements. And basically what we're doing here is we're at the point where we need to go to bid for work to be done at the park that is required to go to bid. Presently, the tennis courts are being done over again because the person doing that work has been approved on a state contract basis. So we don't have to go to bid for his services. He's already qualified himself. But the rest of the project has to go to bid. And this is for the new parking lot, for the new ball field, for the new playground, for the additional basketball court, for the bocce courts, for the workout area, and of course, for everybody's favorite, the pickleball courts, which are going in. So we're anticipating that the job should be approximately $5.9 million. We already have sequestered away $3.25 million, so we'll fund the rest of that likely with bonds issued by the town. Anyway, so the process will start. Bids will go out, contractors will get back to the town, we'll have a meeting, and then we'll award a bid, and hopefully they'll get started immediately and get these fields up and playable by next spring. So with that being said, would someone care to make a motion to get authorization to go out for bid for Leawood Park?
I move that.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Markocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
We have one late-flying item, and very simply, it's a memo from the Superintendent of Parks and Recreation and Senior Services regarding the CSE Case Management Services, and Sally's department does a lot of case management, caseworker management, and this is to accept the sum of $33,898 and us to co-pay $14,528 in matching funds for the program. And this is for the period ending on March 31st, 2024. And this, of course, helps residents receive the help they need to remain in their homes and to live their daily lives. So with that being said, I'll make the motion. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Markocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. There being no miscellaneous business, that moves us to council member reports. Councilman Markocha?
Thank you, Supervisor. I have no report this evening.
All right, Councilwoman Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. I have two announcements. One is from the Eastchester Care Coalition in regards to the Glenn Bolito, one of our past board members, the Crimson Courage Community Service Award. This is a scholarship open to any student or recent graduate applying to trade school or college who exhibit exemplary dedication to their community. This Just a little background. Glenn Bolito, Eastchester Town Councilman who passed away at the very beginning of the COVID pandemic in April 2020, will always be remembered for dedicating his life to the service of others. Beginning in his youth, raising money for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, his passion for community service only grew stronger throughout the years. He dedicated his time to a wide range of causes, including the homeless, senior citizens, veterans, and the environment, and many more. The scholarship amount is $5,000, and the criteria is for students applying for this award will have demonstrated qualities of compassion and service to either one organization or a variety of volunteer activities. These charitable activities, events, or services listed on the application cannot be part of the application jobs description or duties. The presentation of the Crimson Courage Award winner will be honored at the annual Candlelight Vigil in the spring. All submissions are due by March 1st, 2024. And you could go to the website Love Never Gives Up to find the application for your submission. And from the Eastchester Environmental Committee, just a reminder, about 2 years ago, we established a residential food scrap recycling here in Eastchester. It's a 24/7 operation, and it's available to all town residents only, no commercial use. And this can be found at the dead end of the Farella Way, which is down by the DPW area. The volunteer program involves separating food scraps from your household trash. For sanitary purposes, food scraps must be placed within a compostable BPI-certified bag purchased by the resident from local retailers. You could review more of this, get information online if you go to eastchester.org under the highway section and look for the food scrap, and you'll see the guidelines and regulations for any further information. You can also call the Highway Department at 914-961-8540. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Marcotte.
Thank you, Supervisor. Just very briefly, I just wanted to mention that one of the programs that was scheduled for January, which was canceled due to inclement weather, has been rescheduled. That is the Elder Care, Senior Citizen, and Mediation Seminar. It's a very informative seminar. It is rescheduled for February 27th at 7 p.m. at the community center, and they expect a lot of people to attend, so if you are interested, please RSVP. You can do so by calling Senior Programs and Services, or you can go right to the website and just shoot them a quick email letting them know that you plan on attending. So we look forward to that, and that is all I have this evening, Supervisor.
Thank you. Councilman Giacobbe.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a reminder, the library will be closed this Thursday, February 8th for construction. So if you have a book to drop off or pick up, please do so tomorrow or Friday. From our Parks and Recreation Department, the summer camp information will be posted on the town website and social media before the winter break. So I know everybody's looking forward to summer programs, so that will be out there soon. Congratulations again to our varsity swim team, who we just had here earlier, and we issued them proclamations for winning the New York State Championship. That's Eastchester High School. And my son reminded me they're approaching the 100 days of school. That's also the first 100 days where we had a full-time SRO program here in Eastchester. And from what I see, I'm in the schools often with my kids. It's been a tremendous success, and I'm really happy we had that program. It's good for our officers, good for our students, and happy to keep that going. So that concludes my report for today.
Thank you. Okay, that moves us to the second opportunity to address the board. This could be on any subject matter. Yes, sir. Just give us your name and address, please. At the mic.
Hello, I'm Preston Fleming. Mr. Calavita, I think we've actually spoken a few months ago. Town Board, thank you for this opportunity to come here and speak with you. As you know, I'm not a resident of Eastchester. I live in actually Fleetwood, right outside of Eastchester. Both of my daughters who are here this evening have played in the TB softball league since the Tiny Titans, so 6 years old, running around out there with bats bigger than they were. And I wanted to come tonight, with some people and both residents as well as people in my same situation, to see if we can first understand the issues, which I think you laid out in the last town meeting, which I reviewed. I wasn't here, but essentially what I gathered, it boiled down to essentially money and time. Being what most of us lack the most usually. Money being that the city and town and the residents of pay for these fields and that sort of thing, and that the private and parochial schools who may be within these towns don't do that. And I think the second component to that was just the capacity of these fields and and the students and the people playing in them. I'm hoping that both of these, they seem surmountable in regards to their compromises being, maybe discussed or had, and maybe these conversations have already been had. But, I would like to, offer a few of those, but most importantly, I wanted to just get an understanding of the concept of the residents and the payments for these schools and these fields. I understand that it comes directly from the residents' taxes, but I guess where I separate from that is my childs both go to parochial school. They go to the chapel school. Principal's here actually with me tonight, located in Bronxville. And I know that church and that school provides a lot for the community of Bronxville and Eastchester, both with the support they provided the community. Both my daughters and I do the soup kitchen, for the Eastchester, homeless shelter. We do, there's a lot that does for the community, besides that, providing a place to worship and just a place for the residents to go and, meet and speak with their God. So I would hope that maybe the contribution of those schools would be allocated as well as just the pure monetary payments that come from the residents. And, the second component of that being the capacity. As I understand it, I think you quoted something like 200 kids that were outside residents that were equated to 15 extra teams or something along those lines, and 900 hours and 450 hours allocated to those students or those athletes. I'm just wondering how many of those 200 were already in the league or playing, historically, and it seemed to have been running, fairly well. I can understand that number growing, but maybe offering some sort of compromise in the fact of a grandfather clause in which students or athletes who have been playing their entire lives, and they're going to eventually age out, right? And then you'll be back to kind of square one, but that would at least lessen the blow and, provides at least an avenue for them to continue on the path that they have been growing relationships with, their friends and their coaches. And so I'm hoping to clarify the issues and hopefully see if there's a lot of smart people in this room that I think there's some compromises that could be had or made, or just something that isn't so drastic and it seems heavy-handed as far as, we're talking about kids here. These are 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old little girls and little boys. So if it was me, I'd say, look, I'm a big boy. You can, I can take it, but it feels like there should be something we can do.
Well, thank you for your comments. I know we've corresponded via email and all, but, you covered a lot of ground there. But
Yeah.
trying to hit on a couple of spots, we appreciate what the churches do for us spiritually and what they do for our community, of course, but this is a little bit different than that. Also, with regard to the suddenness of this is not sudden at all. In 2022, the town advised the leagues, all the leagues, and actually several times before then, but in 2022 particularly, we said, no more non-residents. We're going to go back and reel it all back in. The town gave everybody the fall of 22, the spring of 23, the summer of 23, and the fall of 23. That was the grandfathering period. We've already done that. I think, unfortunately, the leagues didn't advise the non-residents on those teams that that's what had happened. And, this was a surprise to you. And I'm sorry that's coming off as a surprise, but 2 years ago, we told the leagues that, we're going to enforce this policy. This can't go on anymore.
What was the catalyst for the enforcement? Was it the two that we had went through, the monetary and the capacity,
Well,
or was it
the monetary
something else
issue-
a catalyst to that? Because the way I understood it, it was actually some people breaking the rules and abusing those rules, as opposed to someone like us who were completely, transparent about, where we were, and we were relying on the fact that it was a national rule that your school determined your residency for your
I know,
for
but
your sport.
that was a Little League rule that Little League put out there. We're not bound by the Little League rules.
I understand, and you said that this rule has been around for a long time, since you played,
Yes,
correct?
and before
Has
that.
it been enforced?
Yes. When I was a coach in the Eastchester Little League, the player agent's job, number one job, was to go to town hall and verify the addresses of every single registrant that was enrolled in the Little League. And anyone that wasn't a resident was not allowed to play in the league. And the Little League...
A resident or went to the school, that wasn't a component of the requirement?
Going to school is irrelevant. It is about residency. And it is very true, and don't interrupt the speaker, he or myself. The issue is that in 2022, the leagues were advised that the grandfather period commenced, and that in 24, it was going to change, okay?
Well, a grandfather would, if used correctly, would be that they were grandfathered, meaning their placement was secure. It wasn't a temporary grandfather. A grandfather clause would be somebody who has been doing something for an extended period of time with their friends, family, and coaches, then was given the opportunity to continue doing that, and no one knew would have been entered into that. That would have been how we understood a grandfather clause.
Well, no, the grandfather clause, whatever you make of it. We said to them, everybody in the league can stay there for the rest of the 22 year and 23, but 24 things would change. And that was not communicated to everybody. But the most important thing that nobody is focusing on is that the leagues never should have admitted enrollment to non-residents in the first place. I received emails from people that said, my son or daughter has been in the league for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years. They never should have been admitted into the league in the first place.
So
And
shouldn't that penalty-
money-wise, right? They don't pay us rent. We don't receive any revenue from these leagues with regard to their payment.
Doesn't TYA pay almost $30,000-$40,000 a year?
No,
for use of their
the
fields?
town of Eastchester gets no revenue from these leagues.
Okay.
They keep the revenue from the resident or non-resident athletes. We don't benefit from that in any manner whatsoever. So, monetarily...
If we could solve both of those problems. Monetarily is easy, right? You charge this extra non-resident fee. The capacity is a different problem. If we can recruit more fields. Iona's a college right in our town of Bronxville. They rarely use their fields. Maybe we can get them involved in the program. It seems like, and I understand where the city and town is coming from, but I think what I don't understand is that these measures are directed at children. It'd be different if they were directed at the residents or at someone else, but these are children that are being excluded from something they have done for their entire young lives, for something that are solvable problems instead of driving this hard line.
Yeah, but the problem, the hard line wasn't drawn until this year, because 2 years ago we said in a couple of years we're going to draw the line.
Why was it
So we were
drawn?
not being arbitrary and capricious.
But it was drawn because of these two reasons, correct? Monetary and capacity.
Well,
If we
when you
can
say
solve
monetary,
those, then what is the issue?
monetary is almost irrelevant in
Okay,
many
so there's
regards.
only one issue, it's capacity.
Except for one, and that's these fields are taxpayer funded. That's the monetary I think you're referring to, because any other monetary I don't think matters.
What
So
about a
these are
non-resident
taxpayer-funded
fee?
fields, and we have a capacity issue, and we can't accommodate everybody. There has to be a contraction.
What if we could?
And we did have a contraction, and that's what we're doing right now.
I'm saying, what if we can? I was never asked. I'm sure I can make 100 phone calls and find a couple extra fields within our town limits for people to play at. I'm sure that we can hold some practices in some of these giant parks that we have. Bronxville, their school, they're involved in TEB. They don't,
We use their
readily
fields.
utilize, not all the time.
Yes, we
There's
use their fields frequently, and we use their gyms, and we
spoke-
use Tuckahoe's gyms,
Okay.
and we use Tuckahoe's fields every single
So
day.
then we're already on the route to trying to, figure out a solution. So it feels like there's been a line in the sand when there doesn't really need to be. It just needs to be a further discussion.
Well, I'm not sure we can accommodate that request. And I appreciate your comments. You've been a gentleman the whole way through this process. But, there is, for example, there's the Hillcrest Little League, which is eligible for, or residents of Mount Vernon and Yonkers are eligible to go to that league. In years past, the town has given field space to Chapel School, for that matter, when they needed it, when we had it. But as you're well aware, the school population is exploding. They used to have a high school graduation of 160 kids. Now it's 260 kids. Tuckahoe is the same way, so is Bronxville. All these kids have to play, and our function is to provide sufficient field space for them. As you saw in my last comments, there's also issues about parking and wear and tear on the fields and extra space and a host of other issues. And, you know, we'd love to be able to accommodate you. As I said it the last time, this is not easy to do, but we have to do it.
You want to go against the entire Little League regulations?
The Little League regulations that you are speaking of, and first of all, nobody at home can hear you because you're sitting back there. And you need to come up to the microphone and address the board if you'd like. Yes, you can. Give us your name and address, and I will quote the letter from the Eastchester, from the International Little League. And you have a 5-minute rule, by the way.
5 minutes. My name's Jonathan Graves. I'm parent of a child at St. Joseph's School, 256 East Avonia in Fleetwood. My biggest concern about this all is that the Little League has been around a lot longer than this league here in this town, okay? They have 2 mandated rules and regulations that they've had for the entire time that they've been here. In fact, the rule for school eligibility was added specifically because the parents in all the entire nation made a majority decision to ask them to add that specific rule, which is the reason why all the 3 schools, Chapel, St. Joseph's, and ICS, not being just private schools, but because they're in the town of Bronxville and the town of Tuckahoe, have been allowed. Nobody going to those schools knew that they were going to be eligible to play in the Little League, Eastchester Little League. Nobody knew that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was my league, or the league that the school is eligible for. But to say that there aren't enough fields, I just can't believe that, because there are 27 active fields for Little Leaguers in the 3 towns. 27. There are 758 kids that are playing in this league. Y'all just eliminated 300. There are over 300 active players between all the 4 or 5 sports that are played in the town of Eastchester. I don't know why you would say, and that there would be a position where you would awesomely decide to overrule something that has been in play for 15 to 20 years. I mean, you're talking, I don't know, we've got 300 down, so y'all are down 300. You're giving up close to $400,000 in revenue for the league if you assume that one child plays four quarters of a sport at $235 a pop. So at 200, that's over $400,000 in a year, right? I don't know what y'all are going to do about that, but you're going to lose that cap right there. But I really, what Preston, I think, is trying to get to, and I hope that y'all realize, everybody understands this is about the tournament league. This is not about your residency. This is not about the amount of money going into it. It is not about the number of fields that we're playing on. It's simply about the breach of contract that y'all have committed against the Little League International.
That's ridiculous.
No.
Why?
That's ridiculous. Number one, because I don't care about the $400,000 that the leagues get. That's irrelevant to us. Our function is
That's
to
the Little
provide
League. It doesn't
adequate
go to
field
you.
space. And there are not 27 fields available
They are.
in this town for Little League or for
Yes.
Blue Devils or whatever
There are
the case may
27
be.
counted.
Okay. Good luck with that number, because we have a sports council that specifically parses out the fields, and it's hyper-competitive. And we have strict rules about getting field access. And when you can't use a field, to give it up so someone else can use it, because field space is so tight. Secondly, I don't care, nor do any of us care, what the Little League International rules say, because our rules trump Little League International. And in addition to that, Little League International has written to you, and has written to me, and has said, our policy is absolutely enforceable, and there is nothing that you or they are going to do about it, because it is not just an Eastchester issue, it's an issue all over the Eastern Seaboard. If your town taxpayers own a field, you follow the rules of the town, period. And they've acknowledged that in writing to you and to me.
Do you realize that you're opening the floodgates to something that is going to spread?
Spread
Like
where?
if other towns find out or understand now that there is a way to circumvent the rule, the rule that the reason you disqualified a school versus simply saying the non-residents that can't play When they go online, they try to sign up, they put in their zip code, they put in their address, and it says, nope, you can't play. No, y'all didn't do that. You know, when the Eastchester Little League sent the email to us, the word non-resident is not even in the email.
Yeah,
What
nobody,
they did,
and nobody notified Little League International that it was a town-owned field. So Jason felt a little deceived, and I spoke with him directly about this.
to what?
That nobody discussed with him at Little League International that this was a town-owned field. He was under the impression that it was a field that Little League, Eastchester Little League owned. And if that was the case, we could care less what happened at that location, okay? And, you know,
You
to
have a
your
Little
point,
League field.
excuse me?
You have a Little League field.
Right, we have multiple Little League fields.
Right, so I don't get that point. I mean, if,
Whatever. You're trying to say that for some reason, our action is trumped by Little League International regulations.
no.
And I'm
You're the
saying
town.
that's completely
What-
the contrary.
well, the Little League International could suspend the Eastchester Little League for
They're
the
not
action.
going to, because they
course not.
recognize the rules that they've promulgated.
Right, and you've now given all the other little leagues an ability, or the towns, in fact, because it's not the Little Leagues making the problem, it's the town that's addressed the problem or created the problem. So now you're going to create a situation where they're going to understand how to circumvent the Little League's rules, the two policies that allow you to play in the Little League. I don't understand is where's the forbearance to disqualify the school when there's no non-residents mentioned in the letter to the school? The word non-residents isn't in it.
This is all about non-residents. It doesn't matter
You
where
disqualify
the
the school.
kids are
Why
going.
is the school disqualified?
Well, what
Why
school? What are you
per-
talking about?
St. Joe's?
Y'all don't even know what. That's what I'm talking about. You don't even know how they approached us. You
I don't care how they approach
They said
you.
all parochial schools and private schools in the district of no longer qualified to play in any of the sports arenas around.
No, any non-resident
That's
is
not
not
what has
qualified
been
to play.
displayed to us.
I can't represent what a league told you. I did not communicate that to you. If a league wrote something to you that's not correct or
what is
accurate,
your
I
official-
can't correct that.
What did you send to the schools to tell them that their schools are disqualified?
I didn't send anything to the schools.
So-
Nothing was sent to the schools.
So everybody attending the school can play.
No, you're mixing apples and oranges.
I'm
And let's
not.
just be clear here. Let's be really clear. This got nothing to do with parochial schools or private schools or public school. If you don't reside here, you're precluded from joining a league that uses a permit for its field space. There's only one exception to that. The Eastchester School District, Tuckahoe School District, and the Bronxville School District said, if we have tuition kids that don't live in town and you're going to use our fields, the condition is that you let those kids participate. There's maybe 30 or 40 eligible kids, I think 3 out of the several thousand kids each season that join leagues in town, I think 3, maybe 4 are registered. That's it. It's completely unimpactful. And we use the school gyms, we use their fields, and they use our fields as well, and the pools, and the golf course, and everything else that we own. And we have no problem with the reciprocity.
So residents living outside the district of can pay in tuition to go to a public school and are eligible to play in the sports.
According to the school districts. That policy may change. I don't know. I can't speak for the school districts.
Because we're talking on both sides of our heads here, because.
No, I'm not. I'm being
We're
very
not
clear.
allowing non-residents from private schools to play, but we're allowing non-residents at public schools to play.
Because the public schools give us fields and facilities and mandate
Wait,
that
but-
use. And none of the others
Church
give us
schools
anything.
don't? You don't use ICS field?
No, never.
It's on your list. Yeah, of course you do.
We do nothing with ICS.
You use Iona Field?
We worked, listen up.
Right.
We worked with them on their gymnasium. They gave us 0 time. We spent thousands of dollars on the baseball field. They summarily removed us. They also kicked out our camp out of the lower church, okay? And notwithstanding that, we still worked with them on their mausoleum, and we worked on them with the conversion of the convent for autistic children. We did all of that with them. If in the last week or year or season, maybe there is a little bit of time on that field, I'm unaware of it. Because for the longest time, post-restoration of the field by Eastchester town government, we were not able to use that field at all. No chapel field, no St. Joe's field or gym time, nothing at all. Okay. I don't know if you saw my last meeting. I went to IHM. It's a Catholic school in Scarsdale. Half the kids were from Eastchester, half the kids were from Scarsdale. when I became age eligible for sports, right, I didn't join the Scarsdale Little League because I lived in Eastchester, period. There was no exception to the rule. There was no confusion. That was the end, cut and dry. Join another league. And that's what I did because I didn't live there. And I had no sense of entitlement that I had the authority or the goal to go demand to play in a league, that I wasn't living there.
But now you have the authority to remove the people that want to play in the league.
Yes, because we have a problem with field time and field usage
That's just-
and traffic and other
The
issues.
traffic's going to be the same. You're going to have two teams playing, two teams trying to come in, two teams trying to come out. Nothing changes. The same amount of
No,
players.
it
same
does
amount of
change.
players.
A significant number of people will not be participating in leagues. That
I think
opens
y'all
up
need
the
to
leagues
spread it.
immeasurably.
Why have you not offered waivers?
Well, what shall we do? Shall we grandfather this year, and then next year, all the kids that are up in their last year, they're going to want to get grandfathered. And it's going to be a continual
no, there's a
process.
waiver, not
and all the
grandfather.
generation, and we can't police the leagues like that. And frankly, the leagues have created the problem because they have accepted the enrollment of non-residents. That's the problem. We can't trust them to police themselves, and we're going to go out and we're going to fingerprint every child. I mean, it's
You've allowed
ridiculous.
this- you've allowed
It's a
this
very
to go
simple
on for
rule.
years.
No more non-residents.
Can we
That's
just
it.
simply say this is simply about the tournament league? And if you want to restrict players that are non-residents to play, ask the Little League to do that. Because that's what this is about.
Okay,
It has nothing to do with the money.
another problem you're spotting. Okay, so you want to let 10 kids in, who's going to choose those kids? Who's going to pick those kids?
Restrict
Who's going to do
non-residents
all
that
of
they
that?
can't
That's
play.
unfair.
No, it's not. Nobody here cares up to the point when a 6-year-old can't just go play with his friends, or a 7-year-old can't go play with his friends, or an 8-year-old. It's not until you're 10 years old that you get to play in the tournament league. So there's 4 years that means nothing to anybody about playing baseball or sports. It means nothing in the field of the parents trying to make their child better to go play for sports. In reality, when you don't make it on the tournament team, you're just not good enough yet. You haven't practiced hard enough. No one's taught you enough. That's the reality of tournament league. But to say that you just want to stop it all, and when you've got 27 fields, 27 fields, you can't use that as an excuse. 700 kids playing, you can't. So I just know it's about the
You
tournament
can.
league.
We are.
Did.
And it's happening. Yes,
Did.
most
And you
definitely.
Open it up to everybody to do this.
Yeah, and where do we draw the line? Do we just keep accepting non-residents and flood everything up and just keep doing it? And what? So
What we're
people...
saying is the schools that are in your towns.
People have approached
your
me
towns.
since the last meeting and said, thank God somebody is finally doing this. Please don't change your mind. People that have said to me that their kid isn't on a travel team because non-residents made the team, or kid sits on the bench while the non-residents are playing on a field that they pay for. People,
threaten the Tuckahoe Youth League with the
seem
permits.
petty, or it may seem, picayune, but that's how people feel about it. But more importantly, we battle every year trying to come up with field space for all these teams. We had to form a sports council just to parse out the fields because it was so bad. There was so much pirating going on and so much cutthroat because we didn't have enough fields. And when that happens, time after time after time, you have to make a change. And this is the change. We told the league 2 years ago this is going to happen. Unfortunately, they didn't tell you. And I feel bad about that, right? And nobody wants to see a young person
700
unhappy. But there's the Hillcrest Little League, there's the Mount Vernon Little League, or people can start their own leagues. Eastchester Little League started a girls' softball division. It never existed years and years ago. But they wanted to play, they figured it out, they put it together, and there they are. They got a great program.
So when-
You could do the same.
So when we moved from the Eastchester Little League and tried to go to the Tuckahoe Youth Association, then you're not allowed to play there either.
They use town fields as well.
Right, so you've a separate town, a separate league, and yet you're restricting them as well.
You're eligible for the Hillcrest Little League for your son or daughter.
I don't live in Yonkers.
Okay, but you're still eligible for that. Mount Vernon is eligible for that league. And Mount Vernon has its own league as well. So it's not like you're left with nothing and no place
but
to
my
go.
school goes here. I mean, you'd assume that there'd be some kind of mandate to follow the rules of what the league has been doing for the past 40 years, longer than you've been playing.
In error. No, they haven't done that. When I was a kid, never happened. When my kids were on the leagues, never happened.
Right, they added the rule later.
In the last 15, 18 years, maybe that was going on. I don't know on what level, but it's not going to go on anymore. And that's it.
All right.
I'm sorry it didn't work out, but, you have to understand our position. If you were sitting in my seat,
I
you'd do
don't.
the same thing.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, that part's impossible.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, there being no one, we'll move forward. Any comment from the board?
I think Christina wants to speak.
Oh, someone else want to speak? Yeah, Ken. Raise your hand next time.
Hi, Christina Batista. I live on Johnson Road. I'm a resident in the town, and I just want to say two things. One, when I moved here in 2006, we had options to go to other municipalities. We chose to live in a smaller house on a 50 by 100 lot. I pay a lot of money in taxes because of what the town offers. So we made a decision to come here. When I first moved here, I asked if a soccer team that I play on could use the field, and I was told that everyone on the team had to be a resident. That goes for every league from back in 2006. I was told this all through the last 17 years. About 2 years ago, about 4 years ago, my son started playing baseball, and 2 years ago, he did not make the travel team, and he was very, very upset and very distraught about it. And, of course, you say, well, there's always next year. I come to find out a few weeks later that it was because there were 8 kids out of the 12 kids that were taken onto the team that were non-residents. And it's very, very upsetting as a resident and as a parent to have non-residents on a team when I'm paying a lot of money in taxes and my son was cut from this team. And I'm not saying that that's for recreation teams. He made that obviously, but it's really, really hard when a couple weeks later we're told, oh, guess what? There's openings now. He can play. He doesn't want to play. He was told he wasn't good enough. He was told he couldn't play. He needed to practice harder, whatever the case may be. That wasn't the case at all. The case was there was 8 out of 12 kids from other towns. And as a resident, I don't think that that's fair. I pay a lot of money in taxes. You guys can all move to Eastchester. There's houses for sale, and very easily just participate in our resident, what the town has to offer. So I just wanted to say that part.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to comment on one other thing, too, I forgot to mention. With fields, the town used to be in partnership with the county from an intermunicipal agreement to take care of and manage Scout Field. That stopped a couple years ago. And the soccer league practiced and had games on Scout Field. And the BYLA and the soccer league, town soccer league, EYSA, practiced on that field. That field was gone, further compounding our problem as well. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ray Roney. I live over in Channing Place. I'm the co-op board president over there. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for California Road on my end. Thank you for finishing the sidewalk. Long overdue, and that makes it so much more easier for my residents as well as the Interlaken residents to.
And very used, I might add.
Well, it was always a safety issue, and we know the police department's out there every night on the speeders, but it made it a lot safer getting everybody out of the road and on the sidewalk. So whoever was responsible for getting the money or the grant money, thank you. Now the bad news. What's going on in Chester Heights on California Road for the 3rd time of digging the stupid road up? And what is the town doing to go after the utility company for not getting it right the first 2 times and having to do it the 3rd time again?
It's immensely annoying, as you know. That's a high-pressure natural gas line. I think it's 42 or 48 inches. That's got to run it goes from the Bronx through Mount Vernon, through Eastchester, through Scarsdale to White Plains. And they are not near the end of the project. Over that area there, it's very much bedrock laden, and they've been excavating and putting the plates on, and the plates are coming loose, and they're making noise, and they're slippery, and it's incredibly annoying. And they're going down to Hewitt, and then back up and cutting through, at latest pathway, cutting through Interlaken that street, Interlaken Street, and then up to the middle school, if you can imagine that. Imagine when they get to the middle school, and the middle school parking lot is going to be blocked off.
Right. Well-
Across White Plains Road to Park, down Maple, up Ewart. Those streets are as wide as this pencil. And I don't know why they picked that route, but this is a job that is wholly mandated by the federal government to Con Ed. And we don't really have a lot of say in the matter. We are giving them the permit, which, for a sec. So we have a little bit of control, and Rocco Latella and Rich Ruggiero have been policing them as best they can, but, they have a timetable. The contractor they had originally was, made them terrible mistakes. They got out of there for about a year and a half. Everybody was happy, but it's back on. At least Danella has done a lot of work in the town for Con Ed, but honestly, it's incredibly annoying. And I'm sorry that anyone that lives there has got to go through that, but they're plotting through this. And of course, we're doing the best we can with our permits, but, we got sued by Con Ed. We had to go through this whole process with them. So we're doing as much as we can do. And in the end, we're going to have them replace the sprinkler heads, the curbstone, maybe pave, driveways and all. But in the interim, it is moving at a snail's pace. And I don't know what anyone can do other than the contractor to speed it up.
Well, but my concern is, as you just articulated, Phase 1 in the town of Eastchester, they've redone it 3 times. 3 times. And as you articulated clearly, there was negligence on the first contractor, and that's a gas pipe. So now, we didn't even get into the good part of the town yet. As they say, good town meaning where it's all urban area and tight and congested. And what, as a community, do we have, who's watching our back?
Yeah, we have very little control over this situation, unfortunately. This is supposed to be a 5-year project. There's no way it's taking 5 years. And the extent of our supervision is on the curb cuts and, the method of backfilling and basically the timing with regard to, we'll make suggestions about when they should move across the street or to tie in. We don't have a tremendous amount of control. It's not our job. It's a Con Ed job. They're a quasi-municipality. They have a lot of control that, we don't, unfortunately.
Do we have the power to bring them into court and get an independent monitor
We
that
could.
we want?
We could. I'm not sure. I never thought about doing that. It's good, not a bad suggestion, but I don't know that, a judge is going to usurp Con Ed's authority for us. But
I think the engineering group, whoever it was, whether it was internal in Con Ed or an outside they've already demonstrated they've made multiple mistakes over there. And forget about the quality of life for those 20 houses that are on that end of California Road. That is a major north-south for everybody.
Yeah,
everybody.
schools.
So,
and also, the subject matter is also very tenuous. This is natural gas we're talking about.
Yeah.
A high-pressure gas line like that. I mean, look, from what I understand, from my conversations with the Con Ed attorneys and all, and Con Ed engineers and my own people, what was installed properly. It's just moving too slowly. That's the problem. And it's not being dug out correctly, or they're hitting some kind of rock or whatever the heck they're hitting in there, bedrock, and that's becoming the key issue. But, but like you said, though, they've done it over 3 times. Streets are getting higher, so people are getting water in their homes now because the driveways are too low for the street, and the water runs into the house now.
you just don't want to see this continue, and instead of having 20 families that are victimized down there, when you get into the highly congested plots of land that are 25 by 100, 50 by 100, you're quadrupling the amount of people that are going to get screwed. Yeah. So, at least can this stay on the top burner, because they haven't done it right in 5 years, and if that distance you're going through our town, that's another 20 years worth of chaotic mess.
Yeah, well,
it shouldn't be.
Maybe the monitor is not a bad idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Spiciarich. I'm an Eastchester resident, and my kids go to Chapel School. I don't have prepared remarks, so I'm just going to pull up my notes here. I just had a couple questions in general. I think we've been throwing around this number, like 200 kids are affected by this, and...
Oh, no, I just used an estimate last meeting, a conservative estimate, on number of kids that I, have come across. Well, I think it's a lot more than that, but...
Okay, So I just want to separate two buckets of kids here. One is kids who are signed up for our Eastchester programs who go to school in I think it's Chapel, St. Joe's, and ICS. And then non-residents who just sign up for the league, right? And I think those numbers are vastly different. In softball, I think there's 8 kids who qualify. That's softball, Eastchester Little League is like 8 to 10 kids. I don't know how we get up to 200.
Now, there are more than 45, 50 kids in the Eastchester Little League that are non-residents. And
Non-residents and don't go to the school?
no, non-residents, period.
But I'm not even making the argument for non-residents. I don't think that's a strong one to make.
Kids that go to Eastchester schools, for example.
But you said that's 3.
Yeah, I said there's 3 or 4 kids, that's it.
And you said out of 40, so that's about 10% of kids, right?
No, I'm saying 3 or 4 kids that don't live in town, that go to the public schools, are enrolled in sports programs.
Right.
The others do not reside here and are not in public schools.
Okay.
And there are hundreds of them.
I'm doing a bad job explaining this, but Chapel has about 150 kids. St. Joe's has a little bit more. And ICS, let's call it about the same. So that's like 400 kids there, approximately, maybe 500. There's no way, if you're using even those same percentages, that's like 50 people, right? 10% using that same threshold. So I don't know where we're getting the 200 people. If we're just focused on the people who go to school here and sign up for sports, the number is way less than 200, right? We can get that number. We can find that out. So the capacity issue, I think, could be solved in a couple different ways. I'm not going to put them on the spot here, but if the principals at St. Joe's, ICS, and Chapel would consider donating or letting the town use field time, would you consider changing your mind?
I don't know. I'd have to find out what exactly they would be affording us, and would it be sufficient? And also, to your point, though, there are other kids that don't necessarily just go to ICS, Chapel, or St. Joe's. Kids are going to Annunciation. They're all over the place that are involved in the leagues. It's not just kids that are in that
Annunciation
school.
in our town, though?
No,
That's in Scarsdale, right?
it's in Yonkers.
Yonkers, but that doesn't count. I'm saying if you go to school in our town, that number is way smaller than, again, go to school in our
I
town
understand what
and
you're
sign up
saying.
for our league is way smaller than 200.
All I'm saying is the number of kids that don't reside in the town, if you add them up, you include the Blue Devils, you include Eastchester Little League, you include TYA, you include the miscellaneous other leagues, it's a huge number.
Understood for people who don't go to school here or live here. But again, those that do, it's a much smaller number, closer to 50 than 200. Also, just curiosity, how does Lake Isle get funded? What is the funding there? Like, how does that, is that taxpayer dollars?
It's taxpayer dollars, and it's also revenue-based. I'm sorry, user-based fees.
Are non-residents allowed to join?
Yes, of course.
And they just pay more?
They pay more, yes.
And have you been to Lake Isle in the last couple of years? It's
Yes.
jam-packed, right?
It's
Like,
not.
is the experience
It's
incredible?
not crazy crowded.
It's not crazy crowded. Have you been there on a Saturday at 4
It can
o'clock?
hold the capacity it has.
Excuse me?
It can hold the capacity that's presently enrolled there. And if it became extremely overcrowded, then we have to do the same thing.
Okay, but it is overcrowded, number one.
It's not that overcrowded. I go there all the time. It's not that bad.
So do I. I'll say hi to
It's
you
a
next
weak
time.
argument. Go ahead.
What's that?
I think it's a weak argument.
But it's
to
the
say.
same. You just pay more and you can participate in town either events or the country club or wherever the case may be. If you just pay more, you're allowed in, which I'm not sure I'm not sure why the same argument doesn't pertain here.
That goes back a long way to a federal loan that the town had when it bought the facility, and the federal requirements at that time were what drove that policy. However, notwithstanding that, it is not extremely overcrowded. And if you want to relate the two pressures, the ball field pressure is far more dramatic than the Lake Isle pool area or the golf game or the tennis.
Okay. I'm just asking you to keep an open mind with, and we'll find the numbers. I'll get the numbers. I don't have them coming in. The number of kids who go to school here who also sign up for town sports, again, is much closer to 50, in my guess, than it is the 200, and you don't have to come up with these 450 hours. I will also reach out to ICS, St. Joe's, and Chapel to see if they'll offer us either gym time or field time, and hopefully you'll at least not close the book on this decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else care to speak? All right, there being no one else, someone care to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, yeah, actually, you know what, hang on. Oh, I was just thinking of something. The references to the town's policy were, someone had come in, I don't know if it was Mr. Graves, someone said, where's the town policy? It's written up, okay? And the town's policy has been in effect, as far as I can recall, back in the Vinnie Bellew days, who was a recreation superintendent, for at least 60 years, okay? I have not done an exhaustive search of the records, but I have a resolution here. And, at this point, I appreciate, where's Mike? Yeah, I appreciate your comments, but I can't see, if the board is given information and a pledge from the local schools that they want to give up a significant amount of time on their courts, because right now St. Joseph's gives us little. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, ICS, nothing, and Chapel, nothing. So, that I'm not impressed by that, but go ahead. Sorry, just give us your name and address, please.
Sorry, I know that we're looking to adjourn here. My name's Brendan Shepis.
Yeah,
I'm a resident at 8 Everett Street. We've emailed a couple of times on
Yeah.
this. It's just a comment about not giving up gym time. I'm a coach at ICS for my kids. If you were to poll anyone in those gyms on any given Sunday or Saturday, 90% of them are Eastchester residents. So I just want to make the comment that the amount that these schools do, I believe the word earlier when it was brought up was that it's irrelevant. I think it's incredibly irrelevant what these schools, what these churches do for our community. I think it's shameful that we are unable to separate non-residents from non-residents that use the schools within our community. For some reason, we keep on going back to the non-resident point. The one that Mike drove home is that it's a really small number that we're all passionate about. We're not passionate about those from Yonkers. We're not passionate about those from Mount Vernon that don't use our schools. But the kids that are here are really, really good kids, and we're talking really small numbers. So when I heard the number 200, I was shocked because we had a tryout the other night for 12 and 11-year-olds, and it was one kid that was told she couldn't play on it. So that's what's upsetting to me. We have to stop overlooking what these schools do for our community. ICS does provide fields to TYA to relieve the capacity of an Eastchester school. I think it's shocking to hear that we don't have a problem at Lake Isle when we hear that argument. I don't think it's a weak argument at all from what Mike said. I can't park there without parking down the street. So when we discuss parking, that's a problem. I can't get a tee time there on a Sunday because Golf Now and all these others are open. And I keep on hearing the term, this is the way it's always been. As a management consultant, when I look at organizations that are run and I dig into what's wrong and I hear those terms, that's the first time I understand that there's a problem. And that's where we got to dig into. So if there's a policy that's always been, it's never been enforced, there's clearly a reason for why it's now being enforced that isn't being addressed, and we'll talk about that some other time. If there's reasons on a federal grant that are like why we can't play golf, and by the way, I understand that a lot of people spoke here don't pay the taxes, but we do, and we feel very strongly, as someone that went to a Catholic school myself, that those people need to be considered members of our community, and I'm shocked that we can continue to bucket them with those that don't go to school here. Going to school here matters. They're a big part of our community as a tax-paying resident, and being ingrained and living right near ICS. We're in the Bronxville gyms at St. Joe's every weekend. These are all community members, and they give access to everyone that lives here. If they were to just come up and say, hey, no, you're not going to use our churches anymore. People from Eastchester aren't allowed here. People from Eastchester aren't allowed on our basketball teams. I think you could have an uproar here because they provide so much to us and we're doing so little for them. I think they need to be spoken of. So those are my thoughts on that.
I don't agree with you. I respect your opinion, but I don't want to go back and forth all day long. But no one's saying that the churches don't do right by the town or its people. And no one's saying that the CYO leagues they have aren't good for everybody. The issue here is we have a compaction problem. We have an issue of field space. It needs to be dealt with.
And I'm telling you that you don't.
We do. I'm in charge of the fields. I sit at the sports council meetings. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
We
I'm
have
at
a
the fields
crunch.
I'm at the fields in the gyms every weekend. I know all the kids that you're talking about. The ones you're excluding, we have 1 from the team we're talking about. We have 2 from another we're talking about. We have 5 from the TYO program that we were talking about.
5, the TYA program has dozens of kids
Your
that
inability,
don't qualify.
your inability to separate non-residents from people that use the schools, right? We keep on going back to the same argument. None of us are arguing that non-residents. We all feel non-residents should not be included. What we're saying is that school members within this community, and that includes St. Joe's, ICS, and Chapel, are members of our community, right? And they belong within our fields. And this is a fraction. When you talk about the fraction of people whose parents live in White Plains but happen to have a salary here, so we're including them, that's the same fraction we're talking about.
Right, well, but again, the only reason why public school non-resident students are being afforded any kind of opportunity here is because the school districts make us do that. That's a condition of us using their fields. Otherwise, it would be clean and simple. If you don't reside here, you're not in a permitted league, period. It's simple, it's easy to enforce, there's no abuse of it. The leagues have not demonstrated an ability to guide themselves properly and to follow the town policy. And unfortunately, we're at this point now where, we've told everybody years ago, this day is coming, and now it's here, and everybody thinks we're being heavy-handed. And we're not. We're looking after the people in this town, that the vast majority of whom agree with the position of this town board. I mean, the vast majority of people feel.
Did we petition? I think a petition is required. I don't think
There's no petition required.
There's a lot
I've had enough people speak to me and say to me, thank God you guys are doing this. It's about goddamn time.
And I've heard the same amount from on the opposite side.
I don't think so.
I think there's a major disconnect here, and it's disappointing. It's disheartening how much we're
I don't think
overlooking the churches of our community. It's shocking.
Nothing against the churches in the community. It's just recreation programs that are overpopulated that need to be thinned out. And it's got to happen, period.
I disagree. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Give us your name, please, name and address.
How are you, folks? My name is Steve Sanzillo. I'm a Tuckahoe resident. I appreciate listening to me, Mr. Colavita. I just want to bring up a few things. I am part of TYA. I will recognize that both little leagues, I know for a fact that, yes, you did. Should have been expressed sooner? Absolutely. But my ask is this. I'm not saying change the policy. All I'm saying is for the kids that are 12 and under who are in the little leagues, grandfather it in and let them age out. TEB, all those other, like softball's another story too because they're little. TEB, they got high school, they have modified, they have all these other things. I get it. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, let them age out. Are we guilty? Maybe. But why should adults screw it up for the kids? And at the end of the day, it's for the kids. Yes, taxes, I get. Non-residence fee, 100%. Absolutely. Charge double. Everybody could afford it. Like, nobody around here can afford it. As far as fields, I think we could manage. I know as far as TYA, it's nowhere near the 200 number. I know you're including everybody.
Yeah, it's everybody. TYA is 30 or 40.
Yeah, but that's spread over the rec leagues and the travel. I know for a fact for the travel, it's not that many. It's like 5 or 6. So all I'm asking and all I want is for everyone to consider is us as adults, let's not screw it up for the kids. Let them age out. You're 100% right. Stick to the policy. I'm all about it because you don't want people coming in, like bringing in ringers from Mount Vernon and New Rochelle and White Plains, and then the resident kids can't play. Absolutely not. But that's more the older grades. Like TYA, I know for a fact, well, at least since I've been there, has been pretty good with it. And so has EIL, from what I understand. All I'm saying is just, like if there can be a compromise, and just, it's 5 years. It's not even. I mean, some of these kids, like there's a kid, Hugh, who played on my team. He's got 2 seasons left. Are we really gonna let him? No, I'm sorry, dude, you can't play. Like, just let them finish out. I get what you're saying, and you're right. You're all right. But
I know, the trouble is, we gave the leagues a heads up. And,
But even if you
we
would-
did the right thing and gave them
Yes.
the couple of years.
Yes.
And now, everyone's like, oh, no, we can't do that
But-
anymore. A few more.
absolutely right.
And then it's a few more, and then a few more, and then a
But
few
my
more.
thing is this. No matter if you gave it now, or if you gave it in 2021, we would still be having the same discussion. So, put it in, let everybody know, the Eastchester Little League and the TYA and the softball, right, for 12 and under, let them know, once they age out, that's it. Let whoever needs whoever needs to double check all the addresses to make sure everybody's in compliance, absolutely, be a stickler on that. Absolutely. But let the kids age out who are affected. Because the fields, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's touch and go. There are times it is challenging. It is challenging. Sally does an amazing job. An amazing job. You should pay that woman double. She does an amazing job. But it's manageable. We're all everybody's yelling at each other. There's news, there's this, and you're getting pressured from everybody, and there's people saying yes and people saying no. Are all for what? Let the kid, it's a 7-year-old, it's an 8-year-old, it's a 12-year-old. Let him just age out. He's got 2 seasons left. I got another kid who's got 1.5 years left.
But again, how do we police this? Because this was done in the past, and the leagues abused it.
Yes.
And
I'm not,
and
and again,
I'm not
that's where
trusting
the
them
adults
anymore.
Screwed it up. That's where the adults screwed up. Absolutely. So let's figure out, and
Yeah, I don't know.
let's figure out a way. So we have all the registrants already for TYA. I'm sure EL has the same thing. They're already there. You go off that. Once the register goes out, that's it.
Yeah, but the problem we had in the past, with all due respect, is that a bunch of non-residents never made it to the registration list. So the team has registered, say, the league has 17 teams registered, but there's actually 21 teams. And they don't disclose to us that they registered the non-residents. That's what happens. And then the guy that's 11, or the young lady that's 11, has a sibling, and she starts, and then the other one starts. And
So
before
my
you,
thing-
now we're
yes.
inundated now.
No. And that is where you dig your heels in. And that is where, like as of today, February 6, 2024, the grandfather clause is there. If you're signed up, great. If you're not, oh well. Like this has been ongoing for months and, well, 1.5 years. I mean, everybody's kind of know about it. Like it's always been word of mouth, all right? But it's never been it's never been like that. That's it. Everybody puts it out. Everybody puts it out. St. Joseph principal's already here. The ICS. Everybody puts it out. And we figure out a way, and I will be happy to help you with that, figure out a way to make sure that both Little Leagues stay in compliance.
And the Blue Devils, and EYSA, and it's a lot of policing.
That's 12 and under. Yes,
I know.
you're right, but it's doable. It's doable.
Yeah, it is doable, if we were inclined to do that. And I don't disagree with your comments. I'm just stating that this is where we are. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
In '22. Now here we are. This is where the line's being drawn.
Yeah.
And we don't want to affect any young person, of course, but somebody has to be the adults in the room and have
You're
to say,
absolutely right.
that's it, we're drawing a line.
You're absolutely right, and that's
You know,
where this
that's
line
the trouble.
is. And that's where the grandfather clause is. Because even if he would have drawn that line in 2021, like I said, we'd still be here. We'd still be here.
Yeah, well.
And I know, and I'm not going to get into it, it's not just money and it's not just fields, okay? I totally get it. And believe me, I 100% agree with you, because if I was in your shoes, I'd be doing the same exact thing. All I'm saying is, let's find a way to take the adults out for screwing it up for the kids and let them finish it out for 12 and under, for Eastchester, for the Blue Devils, for TYA, for the softball. There's a way of doing it. Is it a little tedious? Yes. But would me or someone else be willing to do it so a 10-year-old could finish out? So an 11-year-old can finish out and play with his friends? Absolutely, 1,000%. Sign me up, I'll do it right now. I'll do it for free, I don't care. Like, I want these kids to be able to finish out for all the leagues. Because you don't want to tell a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old they can't play because the adults screwed it up. And inevitably they did.
Yeah.
And you are making people stick to the rules. You all are making people stick to the rules. And I commend that, and I understand that. But the kids that are already signed up, just let them finish. There's not that many. And as it goes on, the summer is the cutoff. So after the summer league is done, that's it. So you're gonna start losing kids. After the summer, like, that's it. I mean, kids leave, right? Because the fall is when they switch up to the next age.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I get it.
And, you know, I had a resolution prepared. Maybe we'll introduce it at our next meeting. But, you know, we're going to take in what everybody said. Take your considerations to heart. But I just want you to know that, you know, your expectations should not be terribly high, that we're flexible and bend here, because we're at the point where, forget about being called all the names. Forget about all the other BS that went out there.
Yes.
I don't really care about that.
No, I know you don't.
And this isn't about,
Should you?
it's about taxpayers, protecting taxpayers, not necessarily, the taxpayer money is what drives the protection. It's about that. And it's about providing fields to the kids that live in the town, okay? That's the number one priority that we have. That's our goal. It's our obligation under the law. And the law, by the way, is completely with us. The law says that we have the right, if we're going to issue permits, to make it resident-based only, because taxpayers pay for this.
Yeah.
So we're, you know.
I know the town trumps the Little League and the Babe
We
Ruth,
worked
that
all of
stuff. I know
that out, and we're at the point now where, you know, we can't, someone's going to be upset. Someone's going to get, you know, their nose bent out of joint because their child can't play in a league anymore, but they shouldn't have been playing there in the first place. That is the thing everybody's overlooking. Like, there's a sense of entitlement and the right that we should have been. We were here for 3 years. We got to. You weren't supposed to be there in the first place.
You're right.
Period.
You're right.
And, you know, we're supposed to correct that. So
You're
we're
right.
trying to correct that. But
Absolutely right.
we'll take under consideration what your comments are, and we'll figure out what we're going to do. And then we'll probably have to take some action at the next meeting if necessary. But again, we have a policy, it's in place. I don't really want to breach that policy
And
because
that's why
it's
I
our
said
job.
the adults screwed it up. So this would be the best case scenario. It's ruled with an iron fist, but it has a velvet glove. This is the best case scenario from everyone. Because, hey, it's out there, this is it, that's it, it's over, it's done, there's no back door, there's nothing like that. And if there is, then there's a penalty.
Yeah. I made that clear in the last sports council meeting.
I heard.
That, an abuse of this particular guideline would result in a suspension of your permit for the entire league, not just for the team. So, you know, we're very serious about what we're doing here.
As you should be.
So, anyway, I'll accept your remarks. We'll confer amongst ourselves, and we'll, you know, make a decision at some point.
I appreciate it,
And
listening.
we'll make that
Thank you very
decision,
much.
you know, publicly, of course, you know.
All right, thank you very
And
much. I
you're very
appreciate
welcome
this.
for your time.
Good evening, Dan Venturolo. I live on 46 Johnson Road, Eastchester, Scarsdale, PO. So I understand your plight. If I wanted to send my kids to Scarsdale Little League, I wouldn't have been able to, even though I have a Scarsdale PO, but I live in the town of Eastchester. But it is about the kids, and I came in here tonight thinking you're 100% right. I still think you're 100% right, but there should be some kind of compromise here. I think they should give us some kind of numbers. How many kids in these 3 schools, I believe there's 3, how many are actually in the leagues of those 3 schools in the town of Eastchester? I'm not talking about the ones that are outside, not in the schools, the outside rest. How many total? I haven't heard that number. I don't think they have that number. I don't think you have that number. Actually, from the 3 schools, how many of kids going to those schools are in the league? And 2, you mentioned that you could get some fields. Look into it. That may help. And that's all I have to say, but I still believe you're 100% right as a taxpayer. But it is about the kids. I don't want these kids hating Eastchester as they grow up, say, I can't play there anymore. I hate Eastchester. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about the kids, too.
Yeah.
I think there should be some flexibility here. I don't know how it can be resolved, but I think it can be resolved for their sake too. If they're going to age out, like you said, in a couple of years. So that's all I have to say. I still think you're 100% right, but.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Stephen LeBanca, Bronxville, PO. We've been involved in Eastchester Little League for the past 7 years. I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. I've been coaching for the last 7 years. We absolutely love Eastchester. My son, Nicholas, 10 years old, has grown such great friendships within the community here. And when he found out he couldn't play anymore, 3 days before the fall enrollment, he started crying. He's like, Dad, what did I do wrong? What did I do? A 10-year-old crying, tears in his eyes. He's like, Dad, I don't understand. I can't see Tommy anymore. I can't see Vinny. He's like, they're telling me I can't play. And then my 6-year-old's looking, he's like, what do you mean, Dad? I can't play either? I'm like, no, unfortunately. You're not going to be my coach anymore? I'm like, no. I'm like, we have to find some other place to play now. What I don't understand is when we signed up 7 years ago, 5 years ago, we were allowed to. And if there was some fine print to say, there's a possibility that you won't be able to play, you won't be able to finish out your Little League career, we would have never signed up. No one said that to us. So my little boys were excited about it, like, oh, we're going to be with these friends forever. And then, bam, the door gets slammed that quick. It hurt me. And it hurt my sons and their hopes and dreams of finding out. And I'm begging for you to consider having a grandfather clause put in there, having them just finish out their Little League career. 10 years old, he ages out at 12. Two more years left. My 6-year-old, another 5 years, but just have him finish it out. If you could just think about that, and we really appreciate it. I know some of the other parents here would appreciate it too, because it's all about the community. Yes, we have our church community, St. Joe's, they have their friends here, but Eastchester baseball is special. It's special for my boys. It's special for me as a coach. And that's what I'm going to miss, is seeing my boys out in the field and me coaching them. So if you could consider that, think about it, please. All right.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I don't know. At this point, you could coach at Hillcrest Little League. That's the point. You don't have to be in the Eastchester Little League. People can go to the Mount Vernon Little League or the Hillcrest Little League. I know they got friends, but everyone's got friends everywhere in all circles of your life. It doesn't mean that you're entitled to play in the league. And with regard to the comments about the churches and all that in town, this is about non-residency. Whether you go to school in a private school or parochial school, or you go to school, whatever, this is about non-residency. This is no slight at the school. This is no slight at the parish. This is no slight at anything like that. This is just whittling down numbers to make manageable this field crunch that we have. Simple like that. That's all. It's got nothing to do with anything else other than that. Little League International agrees, Babe Ruth, Blue Devils, whatever, Pop Warner, whatever the heck they're in now. It's all about that. It's not about what the church does, doesn't do. They're non-residents. That's it. Like I said, the only exception are the public school kids because we use their fields. If we did not use their fields, they would also be in this category. But they insist that we do that. I don't know that's going to continue, but at this point, I think we've had a lot of discussion. We've talked a lot about different things. Everyone's made some different points. We're going to talk amongst ourselves. We'll figure out what our position will be. But at this point, I'm comfortable, closing up our meeting. Does anyone else want to say anything? Any other comments? Okay. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Anyone care to second that?
Second.
All right, please call the roll. All good at it? Everybody aye, I guess? Would that be easier, Joe?
No, Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita.
Aye.